10,000 subscribers. You know, that still sounds strange to say it out loud. Somewhere along the way, what started as me tinkering with dead old electronics on a bench turned into a worldwide group of people who love the same strange, beautiful, over-engineered machines that I do. And it just happens to be Christmas, the end of the year. It's the perfect time to stop and say thank you to every single one of you. This isn't just a highlight reel. This is a celebration of the gear, the history, the mistakes, the smoke, and most of all, the people who keep this stuff alive. Today, we're going to peel back the curtain. We're going to take a look at where the channel started, where it's going, all of the gear and videos that you guys have submitted for this special in our community show and tell, and we'll take a tour of the studio so you can see what happens behind the scenes. Stay tuned. You know, when this channel first started, I had no idea if anybody would actually even care. I just knew that I did. You know, I love how these machines were built. They have real switches, real motors, real transformers, and the fact that you can actually fix them. Well, sometimes. You know, and somehow you guys all found it. You know, we've brought machines back that hadn't moved in decades. We've chased bad caps and frozen motors and mystery hums and the occasional moment where I just stood back and said, yeah, I guess this one's not going to happen. And you stayed with me through all of it. I want to start off this celebration with a tribute to all of you. After all, you are the ones who helped this channel grow into what it is. For the 10,000 subscriber milestone, I asked all of you to send in your gear, your collections, your projects, and oh my gosh, grab a coffee, maybe an eggnog if it's that kind of night, and let's take a trip around the world. Roll the footage. We're going to start off with David from the UK. He's a 23-year-old vintage hi-fi enthusiast, and he says he posts a lot of his stuff on Instagram. I'll put his handle below. Now, what he wants to share is his Quad 33 preamp, his Quad 303 amp, and his FM3 that he restored, recapped, and cleaned fully. He said he loves quad sound, and it's a classic piece of British history. Second is his Akai GXC 570D Mark II cassette deck. He says it took him quite a while to restore, and he had to change some transistors, caps, and pay somebody to rebuild the motor because it was burned out. Now, all of his gear he's bought on eBay for parts or repair because that's the only way he says he can afford it currently. The price of that stuff's just going way up. Now, he says he got into the hobby at 16 thanks to his dad that got him into 80s music growing up, and he says he slowly caught the vintage hi-fi bug. Now, he also has a TAC 3340S that needed work, and he fully recapped it by himself, and he had a professional retired tech who was in the business for years relap the heads. He's also calibrated it all to spec, and he did the capacitors. I mean, he's doing a great job. Keep it up, David. Next, we've got Ben from Louisville, Kentucky, and his Sony CDP X3000 that he bought off a Japanese eBay. He says he's had it for a little over a year and a half, and it's incredibly special to him because it's his first real high-end piece of gear. He says he loves the weight securing the CD and just the entire machine as a whole. It's got a clear sliding CD door that lets you see the album cover, and the fact that the CD spindle moves around the laser, which is different from the conventional CD player that the laser moves around the disc. Pretty cool. Next, we've got ACB Memphis and their cool Denon cassette changer from the 70s, one of their early father-son projects. I'll let him explain.
This is our Cassamatic 12-tape changer by Denon, and it stores 12 tapes in here, kind of like a toaster oven. You press this button, and it pops one up and goes on to the next one. So sort of a very early, kind of unusually formatted tape changer, and interesting piece of technology. Thought we'd share it with you. We did a video on it about 6 years ago, if anybody is interested in seeing it on our channel, ACB Memphis.
Next, we've got Karsten from Eastern Canada with his Alpine AL80, which was an eBay find for about 70 Canadian dollars. Said it was a brisk and cold December morning and snowing out, and he rushed to the guy's house within an hour of seeing the listing to see if it was the real deal. It's in great condition, but still needs plenty of work on the inside to return it to its former glory. It's an uncommon deck that's special to Karsten, and we think that it's awesome too. Thanks for sharing it. Next, we've got Aaron from Australia, and this one's really cool. He says, this is my TAC W880RX cassette deck from 1986. It's a special deck, as it's the only double deck I know that has a graphic EQ, but it also is a dual recorder with auto reverse, and deck 1 has full computerized programming, which can be used to dub only the tracks you want from a pre-recorded tape. He says, I really like TAC stuff, so it's kind of special to me. Also shown are 2 custom mixtapes I made. Hey, keep it up, Aaron. That's a cool deck. Well, we're staying in Australia for the next one with Roy, who shared this photo of his setup. He says he's had it since the 1970s. He's bought newer, but he keeps going back. I can understand why. Look at all that cool gear. Nice setup, Roy. Next, we come to Roller Coaster from Poland, and he's sharing a few of his holy grails, starting with his Luxman D500 in factory 220-volt version. And he says he got that from a local bankrupt company abroad, and he wouldn't think they would even have something like that. It's a state-of-the-art combo. CDM03, 2 times PCM 1701 PKs, and an SM5843 AP, which he says makes it one of the top 10 CD players ever made. But with that unknown variation, he says it makes it 10 times better. Next, he has a new old stock 1975 JVC CR6060 ET, which is a U-matic recorder he got from a guy whose grandfather had died and left him a house full of AV gear. Pretty great machine. And next, 2 portable units, a DVD L50 from 1999, Panasonic's best performing DVD player, and from 1992, a Casio CV1, a little analog television. Pretty cool. And as a bonus, he also sent a picture in of some of his VCRs. He's got a great collection, so a great find over there in Poland. And next, we've got Anthony Francis Jones from the UK, and I'll let him explain what he's got. It's pretty cool.
Well, I love my vintage tech, as you can probably see, but from the audio point of view, my TAC X10 is my favourite piece of kit. If you think how old these are and yet how brilliantly manufactured they were, it's a beautiful thing to behold. Even my son just likes watching the reels go round and round, and I've still got some tapes that do play without losing their coating. If you love your vintage technology and particularly audio gear, then why not get yourself a rack unit to put it all in? It looks absolutely fantastic. So here's my Dual 5000 on the top, even plays 78 RPM records. And then below it, a whole stack of kit that's now really cheap. This is all NAD stuff. So NAD tape deck, NAD amplifier. It was a broken CD player and it took me 10 minutes to fix, and a NAD tuner. And at the bottom of the rack, make sure you've got lots of plugs and sockets available, both on the front of the unit and the rear. And I've put it all in a rack cabinet I used to use when I was a digital recording engineer, so it looks absolutely great in my studio.
Anthony also included this next video with his submission, and I had to share it. Next, we've got Tavis from Sideburn Studios in San Diego, California, and he's really sent in some cool stuff. He's got some vintage computer laptop conversions. He's converted an Atari 130XE and an Ohio Scientific Superboard 2 into luggable laptops. Now, that Superboard 2 competed with the Apple I back in the 1970s, and he's embedded a microcassette into the case for data storage and retrieval. It's really pretty cool. He's also sent along some demos playing on the vintage stuff too, which is pretty neat. I'm going to cut it up just a little bit because it was a really long video, but I'll leave links to his channel below where you can check him out.
Pixel perfection. Pretty amazing what these guys can do with
couple 100K of RAM and 1 megahertz processing speed. Some of these demos have 3D texture map images with moving textures, and it's amazing. With sound. The amount of data is about the size of an emoji. A little bit bigger maybe, but not much. It's mind-boggling. These guys should work for the government. They're like a club of different groups and they have contests. That's why I made it a PAL machine, so I can play all these cool demos they make.
Next, we've got Ray Thomas, who sent in a couple of videos. First one is his Studer reel-to-reel. I love that machine. It just looks great, sounds great, and Studer is a name that you just can't pass up. I mean, that is something that any of us, I'm sure, would love to have. And next, check out this Iowa cassette deck that he's got. Looks like everything in his collection is in just perfect condition. Way to go, Ray. We love it. And then last but not least, we've got SD Native, who sent in this picture of his listening room with those great vintage speakers. Absolutely love it. You know, there's something timeless about those, that they look like they belong right there in a modern living room. Absolutely love it. Thanks for sending in your stuff. You know, what we have there are different countries, different backgrounds, different cultures, but the same obsession. All of those machines are still alive because someone cared enough not to throw them away. When this channel first started, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I had never had a YouTube channel before. And you know, honestly, I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. But every moment that led up to this has taught me something about electronics and about patience. Let's take a look at a few clips that make me cringe. Well, hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to get... I was looking back through some of the old videos, and that was the number one question I got. Welcome back to the channel. I was looking back through some... and I noticed that the number one question that keep... Can I not talk today? Yeah, it is ridiculous, so bear with me. Some of us do it for fun. We enjoy doing this type of f***ing. Welcome back to the channel. You know, if you're here, that means that you're probably interested in cassette tapes. And I think that's great. If you're like me, you grew up with them, and you remember them being great and terrible, and both, all at the same time. Well, hello and welcome to the Vintage Electronics channel. Today we're going to talk about vintage home video, specifically Sony Hi8. Alright, so a lot of you ask what this place looks like when the camera's off. Fair warning, the mess lives here too. But let's grab the handheld camera. I'll give you a tour of what this place looks like behind the scenes and some of my favorite gear that I've got behind me. Alright, so this is the view that I get when I'm shooting. This is my studio building. Now, I've got a super wide angle lens on this camera to make sure that we can see everything. So it's actually a little bit bigger than it looks in this. It kind of looks like a shotgun. But I actually have a dedicated studio building that I use for all my shooting, for the channel and everything. But I do use a couple of Panasonic Lumix cameras mounted on tripods. That way they match, so I can do multi-camera stuff in addition to the handheld camera that I'm using now. But yes, I do use a teleprompter. I'm old school. I started doing video production back in the 90s, so I'm kind of old school when it comes to that. But if we spin around here, this is what you guys recognize. This is the background for all the videos. So I figure we'll kind of give you a little tour of what I've got back here. Starting off, this is my Windows 98 machine. It's an old HP Pavilion with a Celeron processor, you know, late 90s Windows 98 machine. I use it, for testing Windows 95, 98 stuff. I've got an SD card adapter in it as a hard drive. And funny enough, my granddaughter, who is 3, she loves playing the late 90s Disney princess game on it. It's kind of her thing when she's out here in the studio with Poopah. She plays on that computer and is actually pretty good at it for 3 years old. Other than that, just a few things that have been featured in previous videos, the miniature arcade stuff. I've got this old record player that I'm trying really, really hard to restore. I've had it for years and it's just been a pain. But moving along, of course, we've got the Atari 2600, the tiny little Atari 2600 that was featured in a video a while back. Kind of a fun thing, but gosh, that screen is so small. We've got the E.T. game for Atari. We did a video on that. If we move further down, of course, Nintendo, the NES. I've got my box of Commodore 64 and 128 discs right next to my Commodore 128 and 1571 disk drive. My very first video on the channel was actually on this drive. I was having some issues with it working, and that's kind of where the channel started. But I do have the SD to IEC, I think it is what they call it, adapter for the Commodore, so you can load stuff off of that. It emulates a floppy disk. Pretty cool. I got that from the Future is 8-bit, if you guys haven't seen those. But moving up, we get into kind of the cassette area. I've got my blank stuff, things like that. But I've got this deck, which is a Sony TCWR661 dual cassette deck. Pretty decent deck for its age. The one below it is my Sony TCK615S. This one has manual bias level adjustments, calibration, 3 heads. Really, really nice deck. It's got Dolby B, C, and S, which is why I bought it. I wanted to try out Dolby S. Worked great when I got it. I'm starting to have some issues with it, so that's probably going to be one in a video here soon. It's having a hard time deciding to play or rewind or fast forward, so I'm sure it's a belt or something. Above that, got a stack of DBX stuff, 224, a 1BX for DBX noise reduction. Next to that, we've got the L cassette deck, which we did a video on as well. Kenwood amp, got my old British radio from when I was a kid sitting up there as well. And then down here on this side, a few more DBX units. These are just program selectors, so I can select between all these tape decks. And then I've got my BIC T3. It's a 2-speed tape deck, which is kind of cool. I've done a video on this. It's got the normal tape speed of 1 7/8 inches a second, and then it does double speed recording and playback too, which sounds really, really good. And this thing, don't buy one. They are a nightmare to work on, to change the belts on. This thing has been a nightmare and a half, and there's videos on that. But as we move along, we get into reel-to-reels. My TAC A3300SX, master recorder. It'll do 15 inches per second. It's 2-track. Sounds great. I've actually mastered some music down onto this, bounced the recordings off from 10 or 12 channels down into a 2-track master on tape. Sounds really, really good. Then we've got my other TAC. It's a 2300. It's not an SX. That's the wrong plate for it. This one actually has Dolby A noise reduction. Kind of cool. Don't really use that. Blank tapes. And then on the top, we've got some other projects. Got my Tandy 1000 SX. Got a Tandy MMS10 speaker set. A Nintendo. We did a video on the Ukrainian tape deck. Then I've got my IBM PC. And then some other stuff that's been in videos. The Walkman boombox Ukrainian thing, a couple of tape decks, little TVs, anything that you could really think of. Now that's the stuff that you guys normally see, and it's relatively clean, relatively well organized. Well, if we go a little bit more behind the scenes here, this is what you don't normally see. I've got a TND monitor under there, extra parts and pieces, but it really gets kind of embarrassing if I open up one of these cabinets here. I've got stacks and stacks of projects in here that I've been working on. Tape decks and 8-track recorders and reel-to-reel video recorders, old VCRs. And it's the same thing all the way around back here. That big thing there is a half-inch reel-to-reel video recorder that I bought that needs a complete recap. That'll be a fun project. I mean, I've got stuff scattered in here. I mean, anywhere that there's space, I've got stuff. But I'll go ahead and give you a tour of the rest of the place here too. If we go beyond the cameras, I do shoot ads and videos for a bunch of different companies, so that's what this area over here is. When I shoot sideways, I've got pull down green screen, different backgrounds, different lighting for that area. As we can see, a little sound deadening on the wall. And this is kind of my work area. This is where the magic happens as far as editing and voiceovers, and if I'm doing any music production or things like that, this is where I've got all of that stuff set up along with my editing PC. So yeah, that's kind of the tour of the studio here. I mean, there's a lot to see, a lot to look at, but you know, it's my little space. I'm glad I was able to upgrade to this a year or two ago from the old studio. The original studio was about a 12 by 12 space. It was tiny, and it was really hard to get anything done. And we had this big flood that happened, flooded out that old studio, and it gave me the you know, kind of the motivation to say, you know what, I need to custom build a space here on my property. Let's go ahead and do it. And that's what this ended up being. I had the shell built for me. It's 24 feet long, 12 feet wide, extra insulation, did all the drywall work, electrical, HVAC, everything myself. And it took a while, but I was able to get it done. And I tell you what, it works great. I'm so glad that we ended up with this space. I'm finding now that maybe it's a little bit too small. You know, I guess, you know, after you do it, you realize, man, I should have done this differently, should have done that differently. But no, it really is a great space. So hope you guys enjoyed the tour of it. Let's kick it back to me in the studio. This time of year makes you take stock. What worked? What didn't? What surprised you the most? And this channel surprised me. You welcomed the mistakes, you celebrated the fixes, you showed grace most of the time when things didn't work the first or second or fifth time. And that tells me this was never just about machines. It's about the craftsmanship, the patience, and refusing to let good things die just because they're old. You know, this next year is going to be big. We're going to have deeper restorations, rarer machines, a few true unicorn projects, and some repairs that scare me just enough to get interesting. And we're just getting warmed up. So if you're watching this on Christmas, I hope you're warm, fed, and surrounded by people that you love. If it's New Year's, I hope next year brings you steady hands, clear schematics, and machines that behave for once. From my bench to yours, thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. Thank you for trusting me with your time. And thank you for helping keep this old technology alive. Here's to another year of smoke, solder, spinning tape, and bringing the dead back to life. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you right back here in the next video.